this run.
We looked at Renzo's team a little bit earlier in that game against FEFC. Double Intimidate, Landorus and Incineroar was causing some problems. The support of Amoonguss drew some attention. This Tapu Fini, nice and bulky, Galarian Moltres and the Regieleki to round it out and apply some big special damage. Alex's team, something kind of a little more similar with one very unique choice.
Oh, of course. You see that stack attack sitting there, and I mean, this is something that's been running around the tournament a little bit, but not something that we've gotten the opportunity to see. So I am excited to see that potentially in action. And then there is, of course, a couple of Pokemon we've gotten to feature. There's been a lot of Venusaur Torkoal running around. There's another Porygon 2 there, and this is all going to be rounded out with that Indeedee and Incineroar.
A number of options for Alex to play this team, and the way that we saw it played in the previous game, something he's going to have to look at and maybe think about. See if he plays it differently, to be honest, because it kind of plays a similar way. Renzo's team, though, has a number of options to try and handle this. Something like that Galarian Moltres could cause a lot of problems. Even the Amoonguss, which if Trick Room's the way that Alexander wants to go with setting it up with that stack attacker, I mean, the Amoonguss can just take advantage of that and start putting everything to sleep. So could be another game where sleep is a really, really big factor. But the best thing to do is to dive on into the game and take a look at how these players want to start out this set.
Of course, and of course, everything on the line. The loser of this set is going to be out of the competition. And to start, it's going to be that Porygon 2 and Indeedee against a Incineroar Amoonguss start.
Incineroar Amoonguss is a lead we've seen over numerous years, and it's rather defensive, but it can cause a lot of problems. You get to maybe fake out something, spore something, cause problems that way, so you have to be careful. Of course, the fake out not really an option right now with the Psychic Surge in play, but you can get the Incineroar out maybe, try and cause some problems by an advantageous switch, and you've just got to be respectful of trying to set up Trick Room in the face of Amoonguss. It's not something you can just be throwing out willy-nilly. You've got to be thoughtful about it, and it looks like Renzo just really wants to shut this lead down with two kind of status-changing moves.
Of course, and no Follow Me coming out means that there's the opportunity for something to go into the Porygon here, and it is just going to be taunted, though just going for an Expanding Force this time around to try and deal with the Amoonguss. And first, it does get the opportunity to spore, so Expanding Force unable to take it out. And a way to shut down a potential Trick Room is certainly just to put the Trick Room Pokemon to sleep.
That Porygon definitely trying to set it up, moving after the Amoonguss, not something it usually gets to do. But I like that the Indeedee kind of called that the potential taunt was coming through, just going after the immediate Expanding Force, getting huge damage down on the Amoonguss, a Pokemon that is notoriously difficult to take out as well. So really nicely played by Alexander there. But really well done by Renzo to kind of control the board just as he wants it. A number of options on how to adjust the board as well. Get some Regenerator going on your Amoonguss and be able to put yourself in a very favorable position. Renzo's team is very bulky, very hard to take down, especially when you weave in these Intimidates on the physical attackers. So expect to see him do a lot of switching in this set.
Yeah, I was excited to see the Amoonguss possibly go down from a double up on the first turn, but now being able to swap out to the back, get that Regenerator, is going to be more of a nuisance to deal with. And I mean, we just see all this pressure being put out on the field from Renzo here. A taunt going on to the Porygon 2 as well from the Incineroar, so even if it wakes up, can't get up to anything, and this Indeedee just being forced to kind of attack.
Really doesn't want to throw out, any Trick Rooms from Alexander's side. He really wants to shut that down, and the Spore and the Taunt, real commitment to that kind of play. The Tapu Fini nicely switching into that Expanding Force, allowing just the Regenerator on Amoonguss and just taking it a lot better, even in the Psychic terrain. Really, really important. And now Renzo trying to find some more offensive options, I think. Set up something on that Tapu Fini, get it kind of nice and bulky and very hard to deal with. And yeah, this Porygon 2 has been struggling so badly, it's time to move to a different Trick Room setup.
Of course, Stack Attack. I'm excited that we get to see it. It's bearing down against two dangerous Pokemon, and this Tapu Fini is just looking to be even more dangerous as it goes for the Calm Mind, get a nice little special attack and attack boost. Incineroar just looking to deal some damage, does target into the Indeedee though, so the Stack Attack does get in fairly safely.
The Stack Attacker not doing too bad for itself there. getting in comfortably, not really threatened. Obviously, the Incineroar's still there with Taunt, and I like that Renzo's left it on the field to catch something like this. Yes, indeed, he has finally shaken off the Taunt, so the Incineroar may have to waste a turn going that way with the Taunt as well. But, you know, this Tapu Fini managed to set up a Calm Mind. That's going to put it in a good position. Saw just how impactful it was against the Expanding Force. And Renzo looked to be finally kind of going on the offensive, something that we've not quite seen yet. Stack Attacker, very, very defensive though, very hard to take out without some really like well-chosen moves to go against it. So this turn, Alexander really needs to get out from under the thumb and just try and set up exactly what he wants, because his team relying on Trick Room and currently not having Trick Room.
Well, definitely going for what he wants, which is definitely not something that I would have expected here. But there is about to be a max Stack Attacker out on the field, so I think not the target I was expecting, but this is definitely interesting.
I wasn't expecting him to max the Stack Attacker without a Trick Room. I was expecting him to maybe try and do that, but clearly Alexander thinks that the Follow Me is enough to keep this safe. Tapu Fini, though, doesn't care about the Follow Me and doesn't hit anything.
Landing either of its attacks. It's not known for having the best accuracy, but missing both of those is definitely hard to be taking there. And of course, with that Follow Me, the parting shot is just going to go to the Indeedee. So it does give Renzo the chance to repivot, but that double miss has gotta hurt.
That does not what you want to see on the muddy water, especially after the Calm Mind was set up. But Renzo, you know, switching out into the Amoonguss, maybe expecting to see something like the Trick Room, and not getting it though, as this Stack Attacker just going for it with the Rockfall, dealing with this Tapu Fini very, very comfortably.
Tapu Fini unable to get anything done as it sits on the field, sets up, and then promptly fumbles, and unfortunately just being taken out. But I mean, there is the pressure of Amoonguss out on the field. I mean, we've seen just how impactful Sleep can be in this game, but I mean, it took so much damage the first time around. Even with the regenerator, doesn't have the most health in the back.
No, not able to, you know, get all the way back up to full health. That's how much it took from the Expanding Force in turn number 1, and that means, you know, the Indeedee's still on the field. The Indeedee is still able to apply some pressure, but good news for Renzo, able to switch in that Landorus, which is going to help against this Stack Attacker a little bit more. You know, just trying to set itself up, deal with whatever the Stack Attacker's throwing at it, could be really, really impactful. So a lot to deal with when it comes to dealing with the Stack Attacker, but Alex doesn't have access to the Trick Room right now, which is clearly a big factor in the way this team operates.
Of course, and I mean, that Indeedee going for a Follow Me, Amoonguss as well, both partner Pokemon just trying to keep the main one safe, and Renzo going for a Swords Dance here. So I mean, taking the opportunity since the Amoonguss is out on the field to be taking that hit to raise the attack, and good thing too, as Alexander firing off a max Steel Spike to raise the defense. So both players looking to try and set up against each other.
Alexander's putting himself in a very good position though, with the defense boost, not only from the max Steel Spike, but also from the Beast boost that's going to be boosting up that defense. This Landorus has still got a long way to go until it's even getting close. There's now 3 defense boosts on this Stack Attacker, and it's going to be a nightmare to take out. Of course, down to the last 2 Pokemon for Renzo. Definitely wants to try and fire back. This Incineroar being asked to come in and do a whole lot of work. The Intimidate, you know, maybe trying to help out a little bit that way. You know, the Indeedee, though, has just been causing so many problems. It's sat on the field since turn 1 as well. So this Landorus needs to go for something now. With the Dynamax being hovered, I think it's all eyes on Landorus to see if it can swing this game back in the way of Renzo's favor.
Oh, for sure. It's now or never. I mean, the Alexander has every opportunity to be setting up the Stack Attack and setting himself up for a wonderful endgame here, especially all those defense boosts against 2 physical attackers. So if Renzo can make something happen, he has to make it now and really get a lot out of this Dynamax. And at least having the +2 special attack boost on the Landorus at this point is nice, especially bearing down against the Stack Attacker.
You need something to deal with the stack attacker because it's just getting so bulky and hard to take down. The Indeedee is just going to help it go on the offensive this turn. It's already got its defenses set up. It's not worried about that. It's more worried about dealing enough damage to get knockouts. And the Indeedee getting targeted by that max Quake. Yes, you got rid of the Indeedee, but the stack attacker still sat on the field. Going to be able to fire back with a big old hit in this turn.
At least help try and slow it down a little bit. Is this Incineroar? I mean, there's Intimidate, there is a Parting Shot onto it, so something to try and slow it down in face of this Helping Hand boost from the Indeedee. And it's not going to matter. It's Incineroar being taken out by the Rock Ball. Another boost on this stack attacker, and it's out of max, but I don't know if this launch can break it.
This stack attacker has got a crazy defense stat right now. No way to really, get through that. You don't have access to more sword stances. You can't just sit there and set up 6 sword stances to match all of the defense boosts. Oh, sorry, 3 sword stances to get, all of the boosts. But it's just really been a showing of how good the stack attacker can be when you let it just do its thing. And yes, the Landorus has more turns of max available, but it's going to be causing so many problems, and you can't ignore the Torkoal either. You're only able to target one at a time. If you go after Torkoal, the stack attacker gets to attack you, and if you go after stack attacker, the Torkoal gets to attack you. So really tough position for Renzo to be in here. Yes, has committed to this Dynamax Landorus like a lot of trainers, but the targeting has to be spot on for him to be able to clutch out this game, and 3v1, just not sure if that's going to be an option for him.
Especially against a Pokemon that already has so many boosts. But no Protect's coming out. Alexander just willing to weather this and take it as it comes. This Torkoal just going down from this Max Quake. I mean, it wasn't about to stand up to a Max Quake, let's be real here. But the Stack Attack it now gets the opportunity to be doing something, and it's going to be going for that Trick Room. So it's an even trickier situation for Renzo here. Yes, there's only 2 Pokemon left. Yes, one of them is asleep, but this is now a Stack Attacker and a crazy defense in a Trick Room.
This really should wrap it up as well. I mean, the stack attacker can't get hurt, and you've got the Trick Room to make sure your Porygon 2 gets to attack. That's going to be a big issue there, is the Porygon 2 gets to come in with Ice Beam in a Trick Room set up for it already. So even if you can work through the Porygon 2, which even after a Swords Dance, I think, could take a little bit of time, you've got the stack attacker just going for this Landorus every turn in Trick Room. The Porygon 2 does have to wake up, so that's a bit of a tough situation. When it does wake up, it's going to be able to land an Ice Beam before the Landorus moves in a turn though, so a lot to be asked of. This Landorus needs to hit every attack perfectly, and I don't think that even if it hits the stack attacker, it's going to get anywhere close after all of those defense boosts.
Of course, and we just get a little sneak peek at how much body press. It did go for, it was a critical hit though, but still a massive amount of damage. And Porygon 2 waking up as well, not able to quite pick up the KO, but I mean, I'm pretty sure the writing's on the wall here, regardless of how this Max Quake fares. This Landorus has to try and take down the Stack Attacker on the next turn. The Stack Attacker is just ruthless.
The stack attacker being an absolute savage. Landorus does get to deal a huge amount of damage on the last turn of its Dynamax, but it's not enough to knock out that Porygon. The Porygon clinging on with the invisible focus sash there. Even the Swords Dance wasn't enough to get it through. So the Landorus knows what's coming in this turn, getting so dangerously low, looking even lower after that Dynamax, and Renzo throwing the towel in game number 1 after trying so hard to make a comeback but finding no answers to the stack attacker.
To boot that invisible focus sash, I mean, I didn't even see it. I mean, you had to be getting each Pokemon KO'd, but as well, the amount that Ice Beam did, the critical hit body press, it was already going to do a lot of damage, and just being in a position where this Landorus had 2 things coming at it in a Trick Room, just not enough. So be interesting to see how it fares in game 2, though you have to look back at that Tapu Fini with the double miss as well. I mean, you have a Pokemon that can hit on the special attack end, and all of a sudden it's just not able to do anything, and you're left with all these physical attackers against a Pokemon that just loves boosting its defenses. So interesting to see if that gets utilized in game 2, or at least how things will be adjusted to respect the stack attacker's crazy defense.
The stack attacker has to be something you think about going into game number 2, and that's exactly what Renzo is being asked. Will he adapt his leads, or will he just adapt his playstyle and hope he can hit the muddy waters? Let's take a look as we keep on going in this set. Just a reminder, we're down in the losers bracket, so tournament lives are on the line. If you lose here, you are going home. That is exactly how simple it is. The same lead from Renzo, clearly thinking that the way the game was played just wasn't quite what he wanted, and just saying, well, you know what, I'm confident in the leads, but I think the game just needs to be played differently.
Of course, and that Amoonguss and Incineroar are going to be facing down against this Indeedee and Venusaur on the other end. A way to definitely be putting the pressure on a far cry from the Indeedee Porygon 2 start that we saw the first time around.
No, it's very much a change up, and this Venusaur could be getting in a little bit of trouble if it gets caught by a rogue Flare Blitz, and has to be careful about the potential Torkoal switching in and helping that Incineroar out. So just has to be mindful of that. Does limit what the Amoonguss can do, though. The Amoonguss can't just be throwing down spores at both Pokemon on Alexander's side of the field. We've obviously seen a number of trainers, really capitalize on that, putting both things to sleep. We actually saw it in our last game. So a number of tough options to be working with here. And the opening turns of this game could be so impactful. Dynamax used a lot earlier than it was in game number 1 from Alexander, just trying to set up and really commit to this Venusaur mode.
Yeah, seeing this lead from Renzo, not being too worried about it. It is just going to go put that early pressure on with this Venusaur. So it's going to go for the Max Ooze right out of the gate. I mean, fantastic way to be boosting its special attack and dealing a good, healthy amount of damage to that Amoonguss as well.
Now the Venusaur, very, very fast, being able to put down that damage to Max Ooze. Incineroar trying to get the damage back with Flare Blitz. Not going to be enough for a knockout, but a good amount going down. The Venusaur taking it very well, though. But indeed, he's expanding force, just saying no. Another game where things aren't looking good for this Amoonguss. The control of the terrain, obviously, helping out there. And that Amoonguss is felled on turn 1 this time. Not even able to cling on a smart Max Ooze from the Venusaur.
Yeah, what it managed to accomplish in the first game was sticking around. It wasn't able to do in this second game. Though, it wasn't putting too much pressure on, but that's still not a loss you want to be taking in at turn 1. But does at least leave the way for Landorus to be joining.
Landorus coming in here needs to start applying pressure back, and now with the damage that Incineroar put down, thanks to that Flare Blitz in turn 1, this Landorus could tidy up that Venusaur very, very easily. That then kind of forces a decision from Alexander. Hey, do I want to switch out Indeedee, give him the Torkoal, which obviously the Landorus is going to enjoy fighting against, just to get another attack out of my Venusaur? And will that be worth it? Because unsurprisingly, the Dynamax comes through in turn number 2. As soon as this Landorus takes the field, you know it's the Pokemon that can win you the game. You've got to be responding to it as quickly as possible. So a lot riding on this Venusaur, which didn't get the benefit of the Torkoal switching in at any point. So not activating that Chlorophyll ability could be a bit of a problem. And, Incineroar just trying to buy some, Indeedee just trying to buy some time with the Follow Me.
I mean, Venusaur doesn't have to go fast if it just can't be touched in the first place. And Indeedee just looking to take the hits for its friend there. Follow Me coming out. It's going to be taking that max airstream and brings it right down. But of course, it's going to be sticking around regardless. It's going to take both of the hits though, which means this Venusaur is free to do what it wants. So fortunately, after the Flare Blitz, Indeedee going down, but Alexander having this opportunity to make something happen here is going to go for that G-Max Vine Lash into the Landorus. A huge amount of damage after that special attack boost, and of course, that all too infamous residual damage.
That's a really big turn for Alexander there. Being able to use the Indeedee to keep things safe, and get the Vine Lash down, and that's now a free switch into the Torkoal if he has it. This Torkoal means that this last turn Venusaur using its G-Max could just cause a number of problems, but then has to be very careful and respectful of maybe a Max Guard coming through. While you do want to deal with a Landorus, it will have access to the Max Guard, and that could cause a number of problems. So Just really got to keep the game moving in your direction for Alexander. I think he's feeling really good about it. He's got the residual damage down from the G-Max Vine Lash, but no Torkoal showing up this time. The Porygon 2 actually coming out, so maybe an indication of what he's brought with him in this game. The Porygon 2 kind of draws attention, not quite with Follow Me, but in a similar way to, you know, the Indeedee. You know, you can't just target down the Venusaur and leave the Porygon 2 to do exactly what it wants, because that's the time when it could set up Trick Room and set you up to get swept in the late game.
And of course, it does have that pressure with the Ice Beam as well onto the Landorus, so it's kind of weird. You pressure the Venusaur, pressure the Porygon 2, but the Porygon 2 is actually not looking to put any pressure on, and that Torkoal that you were just talking about going to hit the field instead. So Venusaur finally being able to utilize Chlorophyll ability and moving first, which means this Landorus, no Max Guard, is going to be going down.
Landorus belled, no Max Guard on that turn means it's just not able to stay safe, and that's really, really big. This Incineroar's Flare Blitz is going to do huge amounts of damage in the sun and pick up that knockout. So it is the last turn of Venusaur's G-Max, you know, being able to get that down, really, really helpful. But this Incineroar getting lower and lower. It's also getting completely worn down by the Ferocious Beating, and whatever comes in last for Renzo is going to be so important. Tapu Fini showing up. This could be the one. I mean, now the Venusaur was double targeted that turn. There's no way that he didn't plan for this Tapu Fini to try and sweep the game, and it's being asked to do a whole lot. It's also going to take you know, another couple hits from this Vine Lash, but it's in a great position offensively if it can get set up and maybe, you know, get through the sun a little bit through some Calm Minds, maybe could just sweep through this Torkoal and Porygon. So a lot being asked of this Tapu Fini, as Incineroar's got one more turn on the field.
I mean, if any Pokemon could do it on Renzo's side, it would be this Tapu Fini in considerably a lot better position than Renzo's Landorus was the last turn around. And Renzo looking to set up even more, going for the parting shot onto the Porygon here, and the Calm Mind in return. Alexander's Pokemon both hitting on the special attacking end means that Tapu Fini getting the opportunity to raise its special defense can help it try and stall out these two Pokemon here. And Alexander just looking to start chipping it down. Try attack, not doing too much. And I mean, the Tapu Fini taking a sun-boosted eruption very well.
That's the power of the Calm Mind, but I think Renzo looking to get a couple more of those needed to really be able to get there. I mean, you've got to work in some protects as well to get some leftovers recovery, because these Vine Lashes really starting to add up here. There is the option as well to just go on the offensive, try and get those Muddy Water accuracy drops, and try and keep yourself in the game, because Renzo's tournament life is in the balance right now. He's 2v1 against two full health Pokemon on Alex's side of the field, and he's got a half health Tapu Fini that's about to get hit and take a Vine Lash between turns as well. So this Muddy Water needs to hit this time. It does, and it probably needs some accuracy drops too.
A double hit is definitely a first good start, but no accuracy drops this time around. It does take the hit from the Torkoal pretty well, but the Porygon 2 just opting to set up a Trick Room, so Alexander, knowing this Tapu Fini outspeeds and is just looking to try and set himself up for success. This Tapu Fini is hurting from this Vine Lash.
This Tapu Fini getting dangerously low. If Renzo can't find some more attacks, maybe find some drops, you know, it's going to be really, really bad. Looking at the menu, very good planning ahead from him, understanding, hey, I need to get through this harsh sunlight, so then my Muddy Waters do more damage. So putting in a Protect, there's not going to be a G-Max Vine Lash bit of damage between this turn, so he will be able to actually cling on to the Leftovers recovery, and the Leftovers recovery is going to help. The Torkoal didn't do much with the Earth Power, and we saw exactly how much the Tri-Attack did from the Porygon as well. So he's able to take attacks, just needs to weave in some Protects. One to get through the turn of Sun, going to be absolutely huge here, but everything, I mean literally Renzo's entire tournament rides on Tapu Fini right now.
I mean, that's a dangerous ask considering like what we've seen this Tapu Fini do before. But at least being able to protect, actually get the proper leftovers recovery this time around is going to be super, super nice, as no surprise from Alexander's end is just going to be double targeting into this. So I mean, it comes down to the next turn just how much these Muddy Waters are going to be doing, and if Tapu Fini can withstand the attack from these two Pokemon.
It's going for the Muddy Water in the last turn of Sun as well. The Sun hasn't quite expired yet, so just hoping that can get through the Torkoal, but the Torkoal not trying to use Fire Attack, so it doesn't really matter. We saw how much the Muddy Water did after the Carmine. Could be really impactful. Of course, the accuracy drops still really key here. Going to start to have adding up, doing that quick math to see exactly how much Tapu Fini is taking from each of these Pokemon after that first Calm Mind. Of course, the Porygon has access to Recover. We could be in for a long old slog of an end game here. But Torkoal needs to do as much damage as possible before a potential Muddy Water knockout, and this Porygon needs to start helping out and pulling its weight a little bit. This really is going to come down to the smallest numbers as Earth Power goes into Tapu Fini and does, I believe that's 23 damage.
Not much, but the Tri-Attack's the one to look for. Still not doing too much damage, and Tapu Fini is able to connect this Muddy Water to both Pokemon and is going to take the Torkoal down. So this is going to have 1v1 with this Porygon 2 with the accuracy drop as well. It's all coming down to these little instances, but this Tapu Fini is doing everything it can to stay into this fight.
Yeah, that was so close as well. I believe it was 19 damage done by the Porygon in this turn. And it got the accuracy drop, so it's going to have to hit a few of those. Renzo looking to just clutch this game out with the lowest of health Tapu Finis, checking the Trick Room, checking to see how things are going on this one. The Protect very wise here. The Protect making sure, hey, I'm just going to get that leftovers recovery that I absolutely need to be able to do this. This is so close, and Porygon has taken so many endgames down to the wire in so many matches. It's being asked to do it again. It's much healthier. It's in the Trick Room. It has access to Recover. I just need to see if it can go all the way. Or is this Tapu Fini going to be able to clutch it out?
This is a tricky one. The Tapu Fini, I mean, it can only recover through leftovers, but it has that Calm Line. It can get its special attack up. It can get its special defense up. So many tools to help it against this Porygon 2. And this Porygon 2, right before the Incineroar left, gave it a little parting gift of a parting shot to drop its special attack. So these Tri-Attacks aren't leaving too much of an impact. If it gets a secondary effect after the Misty Terrain ends, it could really change things up, but its accuracy is dropped on top of everything. So I don't know, this is really going to come down to just which Pokemon wants it more.
What a crazy close game. Tapu Fini knowing that it's just clinging on. 46 health, let's see if we can keep an eye on the math. Of course, these numbers are going to change every time that Renzo is able to weave in a Calm Mind. And honestly, if it can weave in attacks, or if it can weave in Calm Minds and not get hit because of that earlier accuracy drop, things are going to get even better for that Tapu Fini. That's going to be a turn of free recovery without getting any damage worked in between. This might be the closest 1v1 I've seen in absolutely years, Sierra, and I'm looking forward to see exactly how it plays out.
Oh, this is so scary. I mean, just the fact that this Tri-Attack has the potential for that secondary effect puts it in such a dangerous territory, and it is going to connect this Tri-Attack, so very little damage. Freeze! That secondary effect coming through, Tapu Fini doesn't thaw out, and that is such a huge freeze right there, really bringing this end game to just a little more of a closer end.
Oh, Tapu Fini left with no Scald on this build, so not able to do anything. Needs to take another hit, but the Tri-Attack finally getting that effect now that the Misty Terrain is gone, able to do that. Renzo needs to thaw out immediately and land another of these crazy, well, needs a Calm Mind, needs a Protect in there, probably needs another accuracy drop. Like, so much is needed for this Tapu Fini to try and get there. But a Calm Mind would help out. I mean, we saw that these damage is so low, around that 20 mark, obviously varying a little bit, but a Calm Mind would help and maybe even allow the leftovers to recover more than the damage. Nothing from the Tapu Fini on this turn, clinging on. Porygon 2 missing!
The missing Tri-Attack, so the Tapu Fini with the free turn to get that leftovers recovery. This Tri-Attack unable to connect, so what was a huge freeze for Alexander then goes to a huge miss as this Porygon 2 is unable to connect.
This is bonkers. Renzo is just clinging on now. But he got a free turn of recovery there. So that's a really big win for him because he didn't get hit by an attack. Yes, he didn't thaw out, but at least he didn't get hit. And he's getting healthier and healthier. He's actually healthier than he was at the beginning of the turn where he got frozen. So he's in a slightly better position. And there's the thaw!
The thaw coming through, Calm Mind coming out. This Tapu Fini just getting the opportunity to start stacking that special defense up more, get that special attack up. Porygon 2 is going to be able to connect. Look at how little damage that does, though, Adam.
That did 13 points of damage, and as we look at the recovery, the Tapu Fini recovering 11 there. So only 2 points sticking every turn, and if that's the cycle you're working through, that's looking really good for Renzo. You know, if you're only letting a few points of damage stick every turn, you're going to be in a great position. This Tapu Fini doesn't want to be sitting around for too long. This Porygon 2 has already had one accuracy drop, just trying to get on through. But Renzo, you know, does now have, don't forget, 2 stages of increased special attack from the Calm Mind 2. We haven't seen him attack in so long that, you know, might not be able to really guess how much. Finally going down. That is a lot of damage.
That is a lot of damage, but Alexander pulling it right, going for that recover. I feel like this has been going on long enough that something that these players have to be looking towards as well is the potential for timer to be coming into effect. We have these 2 Pokemon trying to take each other out. The Tapu Fini has the leftovers, the Porygon 2 has the recover, but I haven't been keeping track of the match, but it is something that could also become a little relevant.
These trainers are very, very prompt in their move selections, though. No messing about, just making sure they lock in their moves, and towards this end game as well. It's been very telegraphed. They know what they want to do. As the animations are running, they're making their mind up. Tapu Fini doesn't want to be playing around anymore. Tapu Fini's looking for that knockout, and another Calm Mind coming through. Absolutely huge. Just making sure that maybe just trying to boost all the way up, because now that the Porygon's forced into recovering, Renzo is getting free recovery and is just able to, you know, slowly start firing back. This is the healthiest Tapu Fini's been in a while, all the way at 70 hit points. So working its way up, and Renzo knows you've got to keep going. Got to make sure that this Porygon isn't given many options. This is going to be, I believe, the 4th Calm Mind on the Tapu Fini, looking for the fabled one-hit knockout on this Porygon 2 down the line.
Yeah, as it goes for just another one, just looking to try and get as much damage. You don't want to be dealing just a little bit of damage, have this Porygon be recovering, and it actually calls that the Tapu Fini went for an attack, so this Porygon 2 stayed safe, but unable to really do anything, which means another free turn for Renzo, not only with the leftovers recovery, but with that Calm Mind.
That's a misstep from Alex. He's decided to lock into it and, you know, try and recover off one of those attacks, but Renzo calling that so wisely. Again, healing up a little bit more between the turns and the leftovers. This Tapu Fini now really, really strong. Tapu Fini says, you know what, now is the time. Try recover through this. As Porygon 2 brought very low, not enough for the knockout though, and another special attack drop from the Moonblast, getting even better. It's down to Ice Beam, Sierra.
The Ice Beam doing the smallest amount of damage I think I've seen a Pokemon do, and I mean even less of a chance for a secondary effect. So this Porygon 2 is definitely hurting here, and just not having access to your high attack or not using that, definitely hurting here. And Alexander definitely being put on the back foot here as Tapu Fini moving first. It's done it. The Tapu Fini that could.
Tapu Fini coming back in the most unlikely of situations. The end game played perfectly by Renzo there. Woo, it was a grind, it was a slog, but Renzo, with literally his tournament life on one Pokemon, bet it all on a Tapu Fini and is able to bring it all the way back against a Porygon 2, a Torkoal. What a game. Woo, that is a lot to process, but let's just sum it up. Perfect play. Yes, he got an early thaw. Yes, he got a miss, but he opened the door for that miss by throwing down the muddy water. So Renzo knowing every win condition to cling on and send us to game number 3.
I mean, that was just amazing. And I mean, betting it all on a Pokemon that had nothing going for it in that game 1 and 2. I mean, we saw just how impactful misses were, but Tapu Fini really able to just make it happen in this end game. And I'm curious if something different would have happened if maybe another Trick Room had been set up and the Porygon being able to lead the charge, but the Tapu Fini having that opportunity to keep going for those Calm Minds, be acting first, and of course, only that one secondary effect. That was a scary freeze though. That was, I mean, that was the opportunity, but unfortunately Porygon 2 not able to quite get there. So, I mean, it's time for a game 3. I mean, everything on the line here. We couldn't have asked for a better ending to that game, and it's time to get a third game underway to see what these trainers can really do to make sure they move on in this competition.
Yeah, let's just dive on into it. The Venusaur and DD coming out for Alexander Poole. The Amoonguss and Incineroar coming out for Renzo Navarro. Game 3 is here. Winner moves on. Loser unfortunately goes home. But game 2 was a belter, and we're looking for more of that in game number 3, please.
I'm not gonna lie, after that game 2, I'm gonna be heartbroken to see one of these players not be advancing on. That was so well fought. It's all coming down to this match, and this is going to be a fantastic one, though neither players are really looking to change anything up from this lead.
No, the leads, both trainers probably feeling pretty good about the way they played it. This Amoonguss, did go down very, very early, which kind of, just shows how resilient Renzo was during that game, being able to come back from that and say, you know what, I think that we're in a good position, and go from there. The early Dynamax, though, coming through again from Alexander Poole. I can imagine which one it's going to be, and he's going to try and apply that same pressure. That G-Max Vine Lash, though, went down very late before, and that was actually huge in at least getting him closer to knocking out this Tapu Fini. The big thing for Renzo, if he's looking for another Tapu Fini endgame, has to be mindful of just getting rid of this Venusaur.
Of course, the Indeedee, though, not even opting for that Expanding Force, is just with a helping hand the Venusaur, and Amoonguss not wanting to go down is just protecting, but nothing. This Incineroar is going to be taking this Max Quake, and it's not going to take it well, as this helping hand boosted Max Quake is going to take it out. So Renzo, yet again, losing a Pokemon in the very first turn.
Losing one of his lead with absolutely nothing done from it as well. Not landing anything from that Incineroar, so no more parting shots, no more taunts, no more flare blitzes, importantly, into this Venusaur as well. A big turn there for Alexander Poole, just putting himself in the driving seat, bringing that Landorus out very early again. The Intimidate not impactful here in the slightest, and this Landorus is being asked to deal in full with this Venusaur.
I mean, if a Pokemon could start to deal with a Venusaur, then just Landorus, but what's difficult here is the Venusaur doesn't care about Rage Powder, which means this Venusaur can target freely into the Landorus here. So definitely a little bit of a scary position for Renzo here. And I mean, what is this Amoonguss going to do against this Venusaur at all?
The Venusaur, is going to be able to have its absolute pick of what it wants to do, and this Indeedee just again applies pressure with the Expanding Force now onto both of them as well, so getting big damage down, and Renzo going back to old reliable so far in this tournament, Dynamaxing your Landorus and seeing if you can win the game that way. But it's a good pick. I mean, it has max Airstream to try and deal with this Venusaur. It does have to be respectful, of course, of the Cobra Berry, which a number of them have been running, and Alex has been taking one of those. Is something that Renzo does know about with the open team sheet format that they've been playing in as well. Landorus's max Airstream, not where you want it at all.
Oh, Alexander not wanting to risk anything at all, protects the Venusaur and gets a big Expanding Force off onto these Pokemon. Landorus takes it well, Amoonguss not so much, but the Amoonguss able to enact a little bit of revenge and at least putting the Indeedee to sleep. So this Venusaur does have the Cobra Berry to protect it, but it doesn't have its friend to protect it as well.
What I like here as well, though, is taking that Indeedee down with the Spore, not down, but out of the game with the Spore. Really being able to try and stop the Follow Me in the following turn, and that means you can start targeting down this Venusaur. You can really start going for it and try and deal with it that way. So really wise play, I think, from Renzo, just to accept that you're going to take a lot of damage here, and you're going to be able to fire back with a Spore and make sure it goes to sleep. No messing around with Sleep Powder, as Landorus just starts with the max Airstream. There's the Cobra Berry that we talked about a little bit earlier, but you need to deal with this Venusaur, I think.
Still a healthy amount of damage being done to the Venusaur through the Cobra Berry, and a nice little speed boost to boot here. But, I mean, this Venusaur has the opportunity to be going for something. Amoonguss actually outspeeding for the Airstream, so being able to heal up this Landorus, which is going to most likely prove to be pretty useful here in keeping the Landorus around. And we see that G-Max Vine Lash go into the Landorus, but I mean, it's only bringing it down to half health, and this Amoonguss really actually being important to this Landorus, even though it doesn't pressure the opposing Pokemon.
That Landorus has been helped out so much by that Pollen Puff. Just being able to stay around, look a little healthier, just doing great work and seeing it through to the end, of course, of Venusaur's Dynamax or Gigantamax turns as well. The speed boost, really, really good there from the Amoonguss. You know, helping it out, making it move before the Venusaur as well with no addition of Sun or Chlorophyll activation there. So really well built team from Renzo, being able to kind of know the way that one works, and now forcing a bit of an adaptation as well. The Torkoal being forced in, so Chlorophyll is in play, and those Airstream boosts aren't the only thing controlling the speed. But Torkoal coming in against the Landorus isn't always going to be the most fun.
Not to mention, this Venusaur does get to outspeed, but the Sleep Powder miss. So that is huge, which means this Landorus gets the opportunity to fire an attack off. I mean, Alexander had to hit that Sleep Powder there, and that definitely has to hurt as he loses his Venusaur in return.
Sleep Powder giveth and Sleep Powder taketh away, and in that turn it definitely took away from Alexander, not being able to land that. Yes, the Chlorophyll meant it moved before the Amoonguss, but it really wasn't able to do anything to it, and now the Landorus is in pretty good shape, really, all things considered. Not asleep, and should be able to just start pushing things along very, very nicely for Renzo. But importantly as well, if it does come down to it, we've already seen the last Pokemon that Renzo has. We got to see it in his menu. That is going to be the Tapu Fini, and the big threat against the Tapu Fini is gone. The big threat being that Venusaur has been removed, so that endgame win condition is very available for him, but I don't know if Renzo even wants to get that close.
Oh, of course, Renzo looked like, though, is going to try and set up in face of this Torkoal Indeedee on Alexander's end here. But, I mean, this Amoonguss just been so insane sticking around for more than just a couple of turns here. And Landorus, I mean, it keeps getting those Pollen Puff boosts, which means it's decently healthy to just go for a Sword Stance. And the Amoonguss as well, taking away one of the things that could actually threaten to put pressure, like damage onto the Landorus, just sporing into that Torkoal slot. So it's really free Sword Stance here.
That Amoonguss doing very, very well after the help from the Max Airstream boost earlier on in the Dynamax. So really helping out there, just making sure that things are going to sleep before they're given the opportunity to attack. You know, really nicely done. And this Sword Stance set up completely unopposed on Renzo's side of the field. Amoonguss has to play it safe, but we know what's coming, and this one is gonna hurt.
Oh, for sure. First Amoonguss out of harm's way, but I can't say the same for the two Pokemon on Alexander's end, as this Torkoal and Indeedee just, like, the Indeedee not quite taken out, it gets taken down to Sash, but this Torkoal just absolutely taken out of the match before anything can happen for it.
Not able to do anything. The Amoonguss kept it in check for the one turn it needed, let the Landorus set up, and let the Landorus just try and push on. Of course, the Landorus getting very, very low from those between turn Vine Lashings, but, you know, is able to get healed up as well by this Amoonguss that we've seen a couple of times already. Down to the last two for Alexander Poole, and this is not an offensive pairing in the slightest.
Definitely not, especially not in the face of this +2 Landorus. And just these Pollen Puffs, what it's allowed this Landorus to do is absolutely insane. If not for those, this Landorus would have been out of the match a while ago, but instead, keeping it around to just be this huge offensive threat is just crazy. Indeedee finally waking up here is just going to go for that protect as Landorus, firing off a safe Rock Slide, not looking to harm the Amoonguss, but misses on the Porygon 2. And Porygon 2, though, not faring too well as the Spore comes out next from this Amoonguss.
Anything that can cause problems is just put to sleep by this Amoonguss. Renzo showing another powerful pairing alongside this Landorus. Landorus has been so good in so many games over the course of Players Cup 4, I think, and just to see that, a lot going on. And there it is, throwing in the towel from Alexander Poole, realizing exactly what's